I don't think anybody's career, whether it's in the corporate world or an entrepreneur, I don't believe there's one defining moment. I think it's evolution. Um, it happens in multiple stages. I'm not even sure if one is very clear about what the end path or end goal is. You may have a vision, but like I said earlier, how you get there really depends on how you evolve, right? You change organizations. You don't start your career saying I'm going to work with 5 organizations in 30 years. You don't do that. Things happen. Opportunities come up. Things go wrong sometimes. You make mistakes. You pay the price for those. Sometimes you find you're not learning enough. Sometimes you find you're getting bored. Sometimes you find, you know, your needs may be different. Your learning needs, your financial needs, your career needs, and hence you make moves. So I don't think there's been any defining moment. What I will say is that I've always had a high level of drive. I've always been very ambitious, and that's not just for myself. I've been ambitious for myself, for my team, for my business. One of my favorite sentences is performance has no limits. Growth has no barriers and no limits. You can find solutions to everything. So we always need to aim very high. I also like to say that you aim for the clouds, you'll fall on the ground. You aim for the ground, you'll go underground, right? So I think it's more that ambition. It's more the desire to always do better. It's the desire to continuously progress, which has kind of brought me to where I am today. As of now, it's end of 2004. I've been working for about 29 years now. When you start, you're really focused on what you call as skills. And as you go forward, you realize there are things called competencies, your behaviors, how you behave, what you focus on, how you prioritize. All this starts becoming very important. Versus your financial acumen, your technical acumen, your business acumen. I think those are very critical in the early stages of your career. They also matter in the later stages. I'm not saying they don't matter, but I think other competencies really take over. Example, how visionary are you? And like I said earlier, how ambitious are you? Are you able to raise expectations for the business? Are you able to raise expectations for people? Are you able to define together, carrying your whole team with you, where you want to go? Are you inspiring? Do people feel energized after meeting you, or do they lose energy after meeting you? All this starts becoming very, very important. And I think this people part of it, particularly, is something I realized midway in my career. Yeah, probably in my second or third, let's say, managerial role, where it was very clear it's no longer about me being the star, it's about me creating stars. And it's about me developing people to be stars. If I can do that, I will automatically become a star. I think that was a very profound realization I had probably 10 years into my work. And from there, things went on, which is why I focus a lot on HR. Most of my HR leaders tell me that, as a business leader, you're so engaged with us. We don't normally find this. And that's because I understand the power that people bring. I also see my job as harnessing the brain power of people around me, not just using my brain power and exerting that on them. Yeah. It's how to make sure that the collective is much stronger than the individual. I think that's what leadership is about, frankly. So it's these people skills, it is those leadership behaviors, it is that vision, it is being able to carry people along, create teams, create stars, which has taken me along my leadership journey, over the years. There's another very important point I'll make. So probably in the first 20 years of my career, I was very high paced, very quick. I'm quick now as well. Yeah, I think fast, I act fast. But I learned maybe 7, 8 years back. There's a time to be fast, there's a time to be slow. Prior to that, I never figured that there's a time to be slow. I thought speed is everything. But no, I think as you take more important roles, as you begin to make ground changing decisions or game changing decisions, as your actions and choices impact the lives of, hundreds and thousands of people around you who are part of your team. You really need to make those decisions, those choices very, very slowly and carefully. Also, when you want to be strategic, slowness really helps. You cannot think strategically, you cannot think big picture, you cannot make big choices at a fast pace. You should not. Because first of all, you should not make them alone. You got to involve other people. Nobody knows everything. And second, you got to give yourself the time. So I find myself saying very often in the last several years, uh, we don't need to decide that today. Let's sleep over it. We don't need to decide that this week. Let's take the weekend. Let's talk next week again about this. 10 years back, I would never do that. So I think that balance of speed and slowness is something that really prepared me for this role that I'm doing today. Again, one of my key mentors, he's the CEO of the earlier company I was working for. He told me something beautiful when he became CEO of that company. He actually said, Vishal, try to figure out what are those things which only you can do, and focus your energy, your time on those. The things that others can also do, let them do it. Delegate it. Don't spend your time and energy there. That was beautiful. And again, that was for me game changing advice because I took it to heart. I respect this person a lot. And I took it to heart and I actually try to practice that today. It's not easy, okay, because as you asked, how do you balance the strategic and operational? Because the operational stuff is required to deliver the month, the week, the month, the year. But the strategic stuff is required to deliver what's going to happen to this business 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Are we riding the waves or are we riding the currents? That's very important. If you're riding the waves, you'll do well one year, you won't do well the next year. If you're riding the currents, as ships do in the ocean, you will continue doing well in a very sustainable fashion. Another one of my CEOs that I work for, told me another beautiful thing. He said, at the top, there are only two jobs you've got. Figure out what will make the company rich, figure out what can kill the company. Focus on both of these and you will sail along very well. So I think I've been lucky to have these kind of mentors and guides and coaches, and I've taken their advice. That's another thing I'd say. It's very important to be humble. It's very important to have an open mind and listen very well to people. Yeah, I think the most foolish people are those who believe they know everything, and all they can do is give advice. They can't take it. So their learning has peaked. They've reached the end of their learning journey. And if you reach the end of a learning journey, frankly, you reach the end of your growth journey. So keeping an organization competitive in the global market, I mean, there are 20 things you can do. Let me just focus on three or four of the important ones. I think number one, you need to be extremely aware geopolitically, particularly in today's world, yeah, which is a very dynamic world. There are a lot of things happening every day. I mean, name it: wars, interest rate changes, political changes, government changes, trade barriers coming up, economic challenges that countries have with each other, so on and so forth. So being aware of all this is very important. What was a great market for China, I'm talking of the US, doesn't look like it's going to be a great market once Trump takes over. 10% additional tariffs, another 10% could come after that. So China's biggest market probably becomes half its size in the future. China's got to figure out what it's going to do now. I'm just using that one simple example. Yeah. So geopolitical awareness, environmental awareness is extremely important. Two, you need to have the right talent with you. You cannot have talent that's only used to operating in India and expect them to build an international business. You need to have talent with you that knows how to operate internationally, that understands the complexities, that understands the challenges, that understands the regulatory landscapes in those, in different countries, that understands the cultural differences in those countries. You can't do business in Egypt the way you do in India. You can't go to France and behave the way you behave in India. You can't go to Japan and talk like you talk in India. They won't even talk back to you. They'll probably just stay silent, and the meeting will be over very soon. So that's the second thing. The third thing is you got to understand what different markets are looking for. Not all markets are the same. So Western Europe is looking for certain things. Today for them, sustainability and green is extremely important. Go to Latin America, they don't care so much about it. So the needs of these two markets are a little bit different. You got to understand that. And then you got to configure your value proposition, your product portfolio, your service portfolio, whatever you're taking to that market. You got to make sure that it's appropriate for that market so that you win there. And again, somebody told me a long time back, when you're playing internationally, you have to be as good as your best competitor in each country. You can't just say, I'm a great company in India, so I'll be great everywhere else. No, sorry. If you're going to the UAE, you're going to be competing against the best company in the UAE. So in UAE, your capability has to be as good or better than that company if you want to beat them. So building strong local capability in every international market that you want to win in, that's extremely important. A lot of companies miss that out. You go with your home country arrogance and home country capability, that may not help you succeed outside of the home country. So let's take the first one, balance between the work life and personal life. First of all, I think that balance is a personal choice. There are some people for whom it matters. There are some for whom it doesn't matter. Yeah, so people treat it differently. There's no right or wrong there. It's very individualistic and it's very personal to each person, to each individual. For me, my family is very important. My wife, my kids, my parents. Um, Now, how do you balance this? So first, it's a function of time. I hear a lot of people saying, well, it's not how much time, it's the quality of time. So even if I spend 1 hour a week with my family, if it's high quality, that's good enough. I don't agree with that. I think the volume of time that you spend really matters. Are you able to sit and have conversations? Do you know what's happening in their life? Some time back, there was this TV quiz going on, and my wife then told me, "Okay, tell me how much you know about me. What's my favorite this? What's my favorite that?" I didn't know half of it actually. She knew everything about me, and that was sad. It wasn't embarrassing. It was sad. I was actually very sad after that. That this is how I've become. Um, and since then, I think there's been a lot of progress and improvement. One very important thing is you got to have a very strong team with you. Okay, and that's anyway the CEO's job. Yeah, my job is not to run the business. My job is to build a team that can run the business in a fantastic way, uh, execute the strategy, take us towards our vision, solve the daily issues while building the future, whether I'm there or not. So in my first couple of years as the CEO, I need to get that team in place. Once I have that team in place, my life is pretty cool after that, right? I choose what I spend time on. I spend time on important stuff. I spend time on strategic stuff. The team, frankly, takes care of everything else. I do a lot of external engagement and make sure we are known in the market for what we should be known as. And once you build that team, once you prioritize where you're spending your time on, you automatically end up creating time for yourself at a personal level. Yeah. So with your family, with your friends. Example, we have a karaoke group now in my society. I never thought I would ever do that. And me and my wife actually sit and sing a couple of times a week. That's just fantastic, spending that kind of time. Uh, Coming to, what types of habits and routines, I'm a very, very active gymmer. I lift very heavy weights. Probably in my gym, I lift some of the heaviest weights. A lot of cardio. So 6 days a week in the morning, I'm spending 90 minutes in the gym. That's my biggest de-stressor actually. And that's a very important part of my routine. Once I do that, I'm ready for the day, physically and mentally, actually. I think that's one very important thing. Second is I read a lot. So that reading keeps me calm, gives me my own time, and also helps me learn because I read new stuff and helps me gather wisdom and knowledge from other people. I think those are the two most important habits, I would say, which help build focus. And while one may think that working out, exercising, it doesn't really work or anything like that, it's not about your weight and all that. That's all a myth. it actually builds your willpower and it actually builds your resilience. When you're running that last 5 minutes where you think you're going to faint, but you don't give up and you still run and you finish, that means a lot. The kind of mental strength that creates is unbelievable. And that mental strength then comes to help you in the business. So I would say my leadership style today is, I would call it as building talent of the best possible, at the best possible level. I think that's something which I'm very focused on. And what I do every day is all around that. Number two, it's visionary without a doubt. And it's visionary with a lot of ambition built in. So it's a very progressive leadership style. I'm not a status quo guy. I will never get into a role or in a company or in a business and be comfortable with the way things are being done. I'll always see how to make it better. I think that is probably the most defining part of my leadership style. I set high expectations from people. I won't say it's easy to work with me, but I will say it's a lot of fun to work with me. Yeah, it's fun. Um, I stretch people more often than not. People realize they can actually do much bigger things when they work with me because I help them realize their own potential. And I've been told that by a lot of people. I also have a very friendly leadership style. I'm very informal, no hierarchies. I have no problem telling somebody, hey, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Or if I have an idea and somebody else has a different idea, I'm very happy to go with the better idea. End of the day, what matters is doing the right thing and the better thing, not whether it's my idea or their idea. I think these are probably the key components of my leadership style. And yes, like I said, again, I'll repeat for the third time, balancing the high pace with the slowness. That today is also very, a very key component of what I do. Like I get a lot of feedback. People tell me, I don't know how you just sat there listening to that whole conversation. I just wanted to explore. And I smile and say, yeah, it's okay. At that time, we needed to listen. In terms of, what legacy I'd like to leave, I think I'd like to leave the legacy of the best team that the business ever had, and leaving behind a business that is sustainably high performing. Yeah, that is sustainably high performing. And third, very importantly, a business that is doing good. What do I mean by doing good? You can run a business that creates a lot of profits where the people do well, but which damages the environment, as an example. Yeah, I don't want to have a business like that. I want to have a business that's doing good for all stakeholders, all parties involved, whether it's the planet, whether it's the people, whether it's the shareholders, whether it's the suppliers, customers, our communities, around where we operate, everywhere. That's the legacy I'd like to leave behind.